I never thought a simple early return from a business trip could unravel a web of lies that spanned decades, but that's exactly what happened to me. Picture this. I'm Alex, a freelance graphic designer who'd scraped together every penny to buy this cozy lakeside cottage in a quiet suburban enclave just outside Seattle. It was my escape from the city's grind, a place where I could unwind with nothing but the sound of lapping waves and rustling leaves. I'd been away for a gig in Portland, but it wrapped up 3 days ahead of schedule, so I headed back, dreaming of kicking back on my worn-in armchair with a cold beer. Pulling up the winding dirt path that afternoon in late spring 2023, everything seemed normal at first. The door was locked, just like I'd left it. But as I stepped inside, my stomach dropped like a stone. There, sprawled on my armchair, was some stranger, a burly guy in a faded jersey, glued to a baseball game on my TV. A kid, maybe 16, was lounging on the rug, fiddling with my tablet like it was his own toy. In the kitchen, a young woman was rifling through my pantry, humming casually. And stuck to the fridge? A scribbled note. Place looked neglected. Tidied up and updated the locks for security. Regards, Mrs. Harrington, Neighborhood Association President. My blood boiled. Who the hell were these people? Before I could even stammer a word, a sharp voice sliced through the air from the hallway. What do you think you're doing, barging into someone's private home like this? Out strode Mrs. Harrington herself, the association's iron-fisted leader, clutching a mug of what smelled like my herbal tea. Her eyes narrowed with fake outrage, like I was the intruder. I tried explaining this was my cottage, my deed, my everything, but she waved me off with a smirk that could curdle milk. Don't worry, dear, she cooed, already dialing her phone. I'll sort this out. She put on a show for the ages, wailing into the receiver about a dangerous trespasser terrorizing her family home. My heart raced as I grabbed my own phone and called 911, blurting out the truth. My neighbor had squatted in my place with her whole clan. But when officers Miller and Thompson arrived, she flipped the script masterfully. Wiping away crocodile tears, she spun tales of me being a shady drifter, flashing a doctored email from an old association account claiming she'd been authorized to oversee the property during my foreclosure proceedings, a total fabrication. She even snatched my proof deed, bills, and tore a corner, declaring them fakes. The cops, caught in this whirlwind of he said she said, looked bewildered. They couldn't arrest anyone on the spot without more evidence, so they suggested I cool off elsewhere for a day. Me, leaving my own home while her husband, Mr. Harrington, her daughter Emily, and son Jake lounged like kings. The betrayal hit like a freight train as I trudged to my truck, the spring air now feeling icy. That night, holed up in a dingy motel on the outskirts, loneliness crushed me. I vented to my buddy Marcus, a sharp young attorney fresh out of his own firm, who promised we'd fight tooth and nail. Fueled by rage, I uploaded a shaky video of the chaos to my social feed, not expecting much. Boy, was I wrong. By morning, my phone exploded. The clip had blown up millions of views, shares, and comments dubbing Mrs. Harrington the ultimate association tyrant. Strangers rallied, venting their own horror stories of overbearing neighborhood bosses. It felt like a spark igniting a wildfire. For the first time, hope flickered amid the despair. But she fired back hard, flooding the association's forum with smears. I was a troublemaking newbie, sowing chaos, threatening lawsuits for defamation. Her emails to residents reeked of desperation, but they only fanned the flames. Online sleuths unearthed old posts of her bullying neighbors over petty rules, branding her the queen of control. Then came the game changer, a cryptic DM during a late-night scroll. She's pulled this before. Check Willow Creek Association and a guy named Harold. Attached was a fuzzy scan of a document with her signature. My pulse thundered this wasn't random. Marcus cautioned me about fakes, but we dug in. Online archives hinted at scandals in Willow Creek, a rundown suburb an hour east, where she'd ruled years ago. The name Harold popped up in dusty forums about embezzlement fights. This smelled like a pattern, and I had to chase it. Driving to Willow Creek the next day, nerves jangling, I found Harold's modest bungalow at a dead-end street. He cracked the door, eyes wary, white hair tousled like he'd just woken from a nightmare. Mentioning her name nearly slammed it shut, but I pleaded my case, showing the video. His face softened with grim recognition, and he let me in, glancing over his shoulder like shadows lurked. Over weak coffee in his tidy den, he spilled it. As former association secretary, he challenged her power grabs. She retaliated with lies accusing him of theft, ruining his rep, forcing him out. He'd lived in fear ever since, but hadn't forgotten. From a hidden drawer, he pulled a battered crimson journal, his secret ledger of her sins. Rigged bids with shady contractors, skimmed dues for personal splurges, vanished records. Pages brimmed with dates, names, and a recurring mystery, initials tied to her dirtiest deals. "She's a snake," Harold whispered, voice cracking. This could bury her. Trembling, I took it, vowing justice not just for me, but for him and others she'd crushed. Back with Marcus, we pored over it, linking dots to fraud far beyond my cottage. This was no petty squabble, it screamed conspiracy. Sensing the noose tightening as my story spread, Mrs. Harrington called an emergency association meeting, blasting emails accusing me of sabotage and pushing for my expulsion, forcing a sale of my place. She even streamed it live, thinking it'd crush me publicly. Big mistake. I walked in with Marcus and Harold, the air electric with tension. Neighbors whispered, her cronies sneered. She launched into a sob fest, waving forged affidavits from allies, painting me as the villain. As she demanded a vote, I rose calmly, heart pounding like a drum. I narrated my nightmare start to finish, replaying the video for all to see: her family's smug invasion, the cops' confusion. Then, the bombshell, projecting scans from Harold's journal, exposing her embezzlement trail. She shrieked, calling it lies, but I hit play on a recovered clip. Her erased cloud file yielded her bragging to Mr. Harrington about fooling everyone and plotting a new scam from my cottage. Pandemonium erupted. Her face drained of color as doors swung open. Federal agents, badges flashing, storming in. Marcus had tipped them off after spotting ties to old insurance frauds, fake claims, stolen millions from government programs she'd orchestrated decades back. Cuffs clicked. She glared daggers at me, then muttered something cryptic to her husband, his face twisting in horror. The stream captured it all, her empire crumbling live. Turns out, my cottage was her desperate hideout amid crumbling schemes. Mr. Harrington cracked under questioning, confessing her long-buried crimes. The journal sealed its evidence of a serial fraudster who'd fled Willow Creek after nearly getting caught, only to resurface here. The fallout was brutal. News vans swarmed our enclave. Headlines screamed, "Association tyrants, federal fraud exposed." Her family shattered. Mr. Harrington packed and vanished, haunted by shame. Emily and Jake became outcasts, dodging whispers and memes. Neighbors reeled, betrayed elders felt foolish for her charm. Frivolous gripes from her diehards fizzled under Marcus's savvy. A new board rose, with Harold elected amid cheers, symbolizing redemption. Folks even crowd-funded my cottage fixes, scrubbing her stains, erasing scuffs, turning scars into triumphs. Weeks later, as I hosted a low-key barbecue for Marcus, Harold, and pals, peace finally settled. But then, a letter from Mr. Harrington arrived, enclosing scans of her hidden diary. Raw entries poured out. Bitterness from a messy divorce, spiraling debts, a thirst for control masking deep insecurity. My cottage? Her twisted, fresh start for another con. Entries dripped entitlement. That fool Alex won't suspect a thing. I always win. Chilling, yet pitiful. I kept it private. She'd suffered enough humiliation, prison looming. Exposing her psyche felt cruel, unnecessary. True victory was moving on, understanding the monster without becoming one. In the end, my lakeside haven stood stronger, a beacon of grit. I filmed one last update, showcasing the glow-up, thanking the online army that turned despair into triumph. Justice isn't always swift, but when it hits, it's seismic. What do you think? Should HOA presidents face stricter background checks to prevent power abuses like this? Or is it fair game in tight-knit communities? Have you dealt with a neighborhood bully? Drop your stories below, smash that like if this fired you up, and subscribe for more real-life twists that prove truth always bites back.